Part 118. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1171. Hear these baseless speculations. Xiao Xian only had a bit of sarcasm on his face. Everyone, you are all considered to be some famous disciples in the eastern part of Nanzan Hai's Hu. The way you behave now is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? If you say these unfounded speculations, I'm afraid they will cause others to laugh at you. Groundless speculation? I'm afraid, our speculations are all coming to your heart, so you're so anxious, right? Lin Mang sneered. That's all. Xiao Xian shook his head. On these small things, I think there is no need to waste too much time. You say this is the case, maybe that's the case. After saying that, he walked straight out of the animal breeding area. See Xiao Xian leaving. Lin Mang and Lin Tao were also stunned. In fact, they did not speculate like this on purpose. It's just that they saw that Xiao Xian was handsome, and his realm was only 6 stars in the Kengshen realm, not even as good as Bai Ling beside him, but he could casually take out nearly 1 million Tao stone resources. With such things connected, they had to doubt Xiao Xian's identity. Humph, you're trying to be mysterious. Father, I think this Xiao Xian is deliberately talking nonsense here. As for his own ability to tame beasts, I estimate that he is defeated in one move. You must not show mercy later. Lin Mang said harshly. Don't worry, my father knows this. I'm afraid, even if my father doesn't want to kill me, the 7th grade Phoenix patterned 9-wave centipede will not show mercy. Lin Tao also couldn't stand Xiao Xian's arrogance. What's more, now that he was still on the territory of 10,000 Beasts Tower, Xiao Xian didn't even give him any face. How could he endure this? He made up his mind. Later, he will definitely activate the 9-wave centipede with Phoenix pattern to let Xiao Xian know what real fear is. The entrance of Xiao Xian and Lin Tao. In the Colosseum, there was once again a betting frenzy. According to normal principles, as the owner of the 10,000 Beasts building, Lin Tao's ability to tame animals is unquestionable, and this time he is controlling the 9-wave centipede with the Phoenix pattern that he is most familiar with, so he should be sure to win. But things are different now. The so-called fool beats the master. If you are a disciple who knows a little bit about how to train animals, you probably have no chance of winning against someone like Lin Tao. However, the person who is now Lin Tao's opponent is Xiao Xian. Then everything is possible. After all, Xiao Xian is a person who has created miracles twice in a row. Who knows whether he will create a third miracle? This is very hesitant. Who should I believe? It's indeed a bit unbelievable. Most disciples may not even have the courage to fight against Lin Tao, but this Xiao Xian seems to have the courage. What's the use of having courage? Taming and fighting beasts relies on the understanding of monsters. This Xiao Xian was a monster novice before. How can someone who knows nothing about them defeat Sect Master Lin Tao? I just believe in Sect Master Lin Tao. Sect Master Lin Tao has lost. I will take off my head and play it as a ball. It seems that Mr. Xiao Xian has no chance of winning, right? Some people were talking about it, and everyone was trying to suppress it, but most people chose to believe Lin Tao. Bai Ling did not hesitate, and regardless of Bai Feng's persuasion, he just gave Xiao Xian all the Dao stones on his body. Bai Feng and Xiao naturally believed in Lin Tao without any hesitation. No matter what, they would never believe that Lin Tao, the owner of the 10,000 Beast Tower, would lose to an unknown Xiao Xian in a battle of beasts. As expected, Xiaolu became interested, her eyes lit up, and she started counting with her fingers. According to the previous situation, in addition to these 3 things, there are also: I want to eat yellow beef, phoenix tail claws, and green pepper dragon scales. At this moment, in the Colosseum. At this time, I don't want to come out even if I live or die. This is also a pattern that Xiaoxian figured out. He's so nervous. Not to mention whether he won't perform abnormally after a while. I'm afraid that even if he doesn't perform abnormally, he won't be Lin Tao's opponent. But I guess he was frightened by the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. When Lin Mang saw this, he burst into laughter. Therefore, every time when he asked Xiao Lu to do something, Xiao Xian would use delicious food as a temptation to make Xiao Lu submit. Xiao Xian was also speechless for a while. It's just that he is communicating with Xiao Lu. I knew that this Xiao Xian was a complete idiot. Xiao Lu, a little girl, is not only interested in the bloodline of ancient monsters, but also interested in the delicacies of human cultivators. I hope her old man can come out soon so that he can leave this smelly coliseum as soon as possible. It's just that his pocket will bleed heavily in a few days. Looking at this, Xiao Xian seems to be very nervous. Ha 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 ha. I saw a small green bird as big as a palm appear. He knew that Xiao Lu was clearly deliberately raising conditions at this time, knowing that Xiao Xian would not refuse, so he specifically said this. That frail looked like it could be crushed to death with one slap. Could it be that this was the monster summoned by Xiao Xian? He just looked reserved, as if he had encountered something unspeakable. Lin Tao walked like a dragon and stood on the side of the Colosseum openly, looking at Xiao Xian with piercing eyes. Behind him was a colorful monster with thousands of long legs, the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern. This is normal. How can it be so easy to fight against a strong man like Lin Tao? Even if I go up there, I will be very nervous. If this is the case, their 10,000 Beasts Tower's reputation is really in disrepute. In fact, Xiao Xian is really not nervous now, let alone being frightened by some centipede. At this moment. On the other hand, look at Xiao Xian. Real. The truth of this made Xiao Xian a little dumbfounded, and he could only promise that if Xiao Lu quickly got rid of the phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede today, he would take Xiao Lu to have a feast. After Xiao Lu finished speaking, he flew out from Xiao Xian's space magic weapon, and then landed lightly on Xiao Xian's shoulder. But in order for Xiao Lu to concentrate on dealing with the phoenix-pattern 9-wave centipede, Xiao Xian could only nod. But Xiao Lu is also a clean monster. What's the use of summoning a little sparrow at this time? I'm afraid it's a toy he bought on the roadside for dozens of stones, right? It's a shame for him to use such a toy to fight against his father's 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern. You can figure it out. However, Xiao Xian was curious about whether Xiao Lu, as an ancient Phoenix clan member, would be interested in centipedes. Some viewers commented. Then little girl just show up. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1172. Bai Feng and Sheu also showed relaxed smiles when they saw this scene. The situation was pretty much what they expected. Before, Xiao Xian was just bluffing and had no ability at all. When the time comes, he can be easily dealt with. At this moment, Xiao Xian also felt helpless. He also knew that Xiao Lu, a mythical beast, had ancient blood, and being able to communicate and fight with him was already a great honor. What else did he want to change Xiao Lu into? This is simply impossible. But the good thing is that the pressure of the divine beast on Xiao Lu is still there, and it seems to be stronger than before. If Xiao Xian's predictions are correct, Xiao Lu's victory over the phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede is almost certain. Xiao Xian looked indifferent. Lin Tao, who was standing opposite, looked a little nervous. He vaguely felt that the little green bird on Xiao Xian's shoulder in front of him didn't seem to be that simple. You know, the phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede behind him is a 7th-grade monster. For human cultivators, this strength has surpassed the little golden god realm and is infinitely close to the golden god realm. If it were an ordinary monster, the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern would probably have been avoided long ago. However, the little green bird on Xiao Xian's shoulder had no intention of avoiding it, but instead felt eager to try. Cloud Beast Technique. Rise. Facing Xiao Xian. At this moment, Lin Tao was no longer hesitant. He roared angrily and instilled a magic seal into the body of the phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede behind him. In an instant, the body of the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern turned red. The strong aura of the monster beast was released, causing the entire Colosseum to shake, as if some thunder had descended into the world. Seeing this scene, Lin Mang was stunned for a moment, and then said triumphantly, "You may not know that this is my father's cloud beast technique. When used, it can greatly increase the combat power of the monster beast. If my prediction is correct, the current 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern can still fight even if it faces the true golden god realm of humans. The cloud beast technique is a secret technique that is not taught in our 10,000 beast tower." Amazing, Bai Feng praised. "I didn't expect that the old building owner Lin paid so much attention to Xiao Xian and used secret techniques as soon as he came up. It seems that Xiao Xian will die without a burial today. Best dead. It also saves me having to do it myself in the future." Snake Yu also had a slight smile on his face, with a stern look on his face. Anyway, at most, he can only live until the youth conference. By then, we, the Spirit Snake Alliance, will settle old and new grudges together, and he will also die. Humph. I'm afraid you, the Spirit Snake Alliance, are not that capable yet, Bai Ling said scornfully. Master Xiao Xian, our guest at Bian Valley, is also a core disciple of the Yuling section. You, the Spirit Snake Alliance, are going to deal with it. Does he want to start a war with our two sects at the same time? Is it? Snake Yu frowned slightly. He really didn't expect that Xiao Xian could have such great ability and be recognized by both Bian Valley and Yuling sect. So what? Even if you have the protection of the sect, if you don't have the strength, you will probably be asking for trouble in the end, Bai Feng said disdainfully. Do you have the strength? Perhaps, you will know when you get to the real youth conference. Face the ridicule of these people. Bai Ling said bluntly. In the past, some disciples who thought they were geniuses died inexplicably, right? For a moment, Bai Feng and Shao were also a little silent. They also admitted that on Nanzan Hai's Hu, various dark horses would be born at the annual youth conference. On the contrary, those talented disciples recognized by the sect performed mediocrely. Bai Ling quarreled with Bai Feng Shao outside the court. At that moment, Lin Tao no longer hesitated and pinched a bloody mark in his hand. Bai Feng and Shao also had gloomy faces. If you have a chance. The giant tower-like centipede body stood upright and rushed towards Xiao Xian. This shows that the ferocious nature of the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern has been completely aroused. Now, the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern has reached its peak strength. It was once again instilled into the body of the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern. Lin Tao has been taming beasts for so many years, and he has tamed anywhere from 1,000 to 800 monsters, but he has never tamed a monster with ancient bloodline. So the only possibility is to be afraid of that little green sparrow? How could such a powerful 7th-level monster be afraid of such a small thing? This is simply unheard of. Unless there is a situation. You must know that this 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern is a 7th-level monster. It is impossible for a monster of this level to be afraid of Xiao Xian, a 6-star Kangshen realm. The 9 patterns of this phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede actually lit up at the same time. Lin Mang was shocked and looked at the situation on the field in stunned silence. For a long time, Lin Tao, as the owner of the 10,000 Beasts Tower, would rarely personally participate in beast fighting matters. He would usually arrange for the elder disciples of the 10,000 Beasts Tower to participate. Thinking of this, a look of greed instantly appeared on Lin Tao's face. With the blood of the ancient race, Such monsters are absolutely vital treasures to their 10,000 beast tower. Unless, this little green sparrow has the blood of an ancient race. But a puzzling scene happened. How can this be? And in the Colosseum. When an elder from the 10,000 beast tower saw this scene, his expression changed slightly. This, all the 9 patterns of the Phoenix pattern 9-wave centipede are activated? Doesn't it mean that, this monster is going to get out of control? Then, wouldn't we all be in danger? What should we do? Let's run. This made him a little unbelievable. However, he has never had such an opportunity. Who knew that now, this opportunity would come to his door? Not only did he activate the Cloud Beast technique, but he also directly inspired the 9-striped Phoenix pattern 9-wave centipede. Is it possible that in Lin Tao's mind, this Xiaoxian is so dangerous? Or did that little green sparrow bring too much pressure to him? He really wanted to own such a monster. Although Lin Tao had already activated the Cloud Beast technique, the Phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede behind him had been hesitant, as if he was testing and fearing something. Whether inside or outside the Colosseum, seeing such a scene, everyone will feel an invisible sense of oppression in their hearts, and they can't help but look at the 9-wave centipede with Phoenix pattern in fear. If it can be obtained, it will definitely greatly enhance their strength. 9 patterns. However, this is also a bit too incredible. The 9 colorful lines on the Phoenix pattern 9-wave centipede glow at the same time, and the ferocious nature in the body is completely stimulated. Faced with Xiaoxian today, how could he go all out? They looked at each other and saw a hint of hatred in each other's eyes. Perhaps, they really wanted to find a way to kill Xiaoxian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1173. Out of control. Out of control. An out-of-control 7th grade monster. Lin Mang's words immediately shocked everyone present, and they all looked at the scene in disbelief. For them, this situation is simply incomprehensible. In any case, Lin Tao is the owner of the 10,000 Beasts building. His ability to tame beasts is among the best in the entire eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu. How could he let his monsters get out of control? Isn't this a joke? Master Lin Mang, are you kidding me? Old Master Lin is also a veteran beast trainer. How could he make such a low-level mistake? Let a 7th-level monster lose control in the Colosseum? This is not. Bai Feng couldn't imagine it. But Lin Mang didn't talk nonsense with these people, and directly took some disciples from the 10,000 Beast Tower and took the initiative to retreat. He actually planned to leave the Colosseum. This moment also shocked everyone present, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. People from 10,000 Beast Tower? He actually left the Colosseum on his own initiative? I'm afraid I don't need to say more about what this means, right? Damn it, let's go, Snake Yu reacted quickly and asked the people from the Spirit Snake Alliance to leave. Run. Bai Feng was also dissatisfied with his actions. He turned around and ran away without caring about the other people in Bian Valley. Disciples of White Flame Valley, prepare to leave. It was Bai Ling who was organizing all the disciples of Bian Valley to leave in an orderly manner. At the same time, she also looked at Xiaoxian worriedly. Although she knew, being able to push Lin Tao to this point, not hesitate to arouse the ferocity of the 9-wave centipede with Phoenix pattern, and even make the beast lose control, is nothing more than Xiaoxian showing strength that Lin Tao cannot deal with. But even so, she was still a little worried about Xiaoxian's safety. Sister Ling please leave quickly. Once the 7th grade monster gets out of control, it may damage the entire Colosseum. Please leave quickly. Some disciples from Bian Valley persuaded. No. Master Xiao Xian is the benefactor of our White Flame Valley. I brought Xiao Xian to the 10,000 Beasts Tower. I must bring him back safely. You go first and don't worry about me. Bai Ling shook his head. She went against the flow of panicked people and tried her best to get closer to Xiao Xian. At the same time, under Lin Tao's deliberate urging, the Phoenix Pattern 9-wave centipede was almost in a state of madness. On the one hand, he did not dare to take the initiative to attack when facing Xiao Lu, who had a higher blood level than his own. On the other hand, with Lin Tao's desperate urging, he, who was not very intelligent to begin with, almost began to attack those around him indiscriminately. Of all people, Lin Tao is smart. After he realized something was wrong early on, he had already run away. On the contrary, Xiao Xian next to him was a little curious about Xiao Lu's strength when faced with such a situation. He had no doubt that if he were to fight against the phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede here, he would have little chance of winning, but now that he had Xiao Lu's help, the situation was different. Since Xiao Green can only rely on blood pressure to drive the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern into madness, it means that Xiao Green also has the means to kill this guy, so Xiao Xian is waiting patiently here, just waiting for the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern. The beast soul on his body is used to strengthen the Sirius sword. Now his Sirius sword is only a quasi-celestial magic weapon. If you want to take the Sirius sword a step further, you may have to rely on a high-level beast soul. The 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern in front of you is a good choice. Go, go, go. Up, up, up. Come on, little green, come on, little green. I believe you will definitely defeat the opponent. Xiao Xian smiled and cheered, with a smile that could not be concealed on his face. He even had an idea, since Xiao Lu is so strong, why not snatch away all the other 7th grade monster essences in the 10,000 Beasts Tower? Wait until his heavenly wolf sword becomes heavenly again. He became a strong man in the Golden God realm again. Not to mention the 10,000 Beasts Tower, even the Spirit Snake Alliance would be extremely afraid of him. At this time, under the pressure of Xiaolu's bloodline, the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern was indeed completely crazy. Its huge body danced crazily and hit the bluestone floor. He even rushed towards the people in the stands. The body of the 7th level monster beast is rough and fleshy, and the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern is also surrounded by toxins. A mouthful of venom was sprayed out, and in an instant, more than a dozen disciples of the 10,000 Beast Tower turned into bones. As the huge body danced, it could crush the bodies of several disciples of the 10,000 Beast Tower every time. At the same time, the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern opened its big mouth and started to bite the disciples on the ground. It's like a devil emerging from hell. The disciples of the 10,000 Beast Tower obey the order and form a formation to respond to the enemy. Under the shout of an elder of the 10,000 Beast Tower, dozens of disciples of the 10,000 Beast Tower who did not run away also gathered around, holding their weapons in the sky. The power of the great avenue in his body condensed and formed a huge round shield. On the round shield, there is also a strong power of the avenue. Under the control of the elder of the 10,000 Beast Tower, this power of the avenue also attacked the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern. Ho ho ho! Facing the attack of this large formation, the phoenix pattern 9-wave centipede didn't even move its entire body. Instead, it turned around and flicked its tail, hitting the elder of the 10,000 Beast Tower directly. This elder of 10,000 Beast Tower is also a strong man in the little golden god realm. However, in the face of such an attack, he couldn't even dodge. He was thrown more than 10 meters away and fell to the ground without knowing whether he was alive or dead. Once this elder died, the 10,000 Beasts Tower formation would naturally be in chaos. And these disciples who were only in the Kangshen realm, in front of this crazy phoenix-patterned 9-wave centipede, were like walking flesh men, being killed wantonly. The fighting arena that was filled with excitement just now turned into a purgatory on Earth in an instant. Violent. Facing the crazy 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern. Xiao Lu still didn't transform into his true body, but used his small figure to attack the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern in front of him. The strange thing is that the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern, who had just killed the disciples and elders of the 10,000 Beast Tower and went crazy, when facing Xiao Lu, seemed to have seen some natural enemy, turned around and ran away in a hurry. Since Xiao Lu has locked the target, he will naturally not give him a chance to escape. Before the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern could react, Xiao Lu landed directly on his head, and its sharp beak directly scratched his skull, causing blood to flow out instantly. In pain, the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern also twisted its body crazily, trying to get rid of Xiao Lu. But Xiao Lu's bird claws had already been embedded in his back shell. No matter how hard he struggled, he could only let Xiao Lu peck his head bones to bits. Less than a quarter of an hour. The huge body of the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern fell softly to the ground, and the smelly blood filled the entire Colosseum. Seeing Xiao Lu's brave appearance, Xiao Xian's eyes suddenly lit up and he couldn't help but ask, "Xiao Lu, do you want to kill a few more 7-star monsters? Then I will give you a few more delicious meals, how about that? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors." Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1174. I want 2 meals. Just when Xiao Xian was looking forward to it, Xiao Lu suddenly said, "And, I want to add 1 more deep sea arowana. Make a deal." Deal now. Xiao Xian could hardly conceal his inner excitement. He could see clearly just now that there were 7 or 8 7th-grade monsters in the 10,000 Beasts Tower. To him, the animal breeding ground in the 10,000 Beasts building is simply a huge treasure cave. If he could obtain all the 7th-grade monster essences inside, his strength would definitely increase several times or even dozens of times. Walk. Take the beast's soul. Xiao Xian was quick with his hands and feet, and quickly used the Sirius sword to take out the beast's soul from the 9-wave centipede with the phoenix pattern, then grabbed Xiao Lu and ran towards the animal breeding ground without looking back. Soon, in the animal breeding area of Wanzhou building, Little Green was like a whirlwind, and directly dealt with all these 7th-grade monsters, and finally looked at Xiao Xian with eyes full of expectation. Xiao Xian was also very happy and said with a smile, "Xiao Lu, you have made a great contribution this time, don't worry, I won't treat you badly." Later, Xiao Lu disliked the dirty land of raising animals and got into Xiao Xian's space magic weapon early. Xiao Xian, on the other hand, patiently began to collect the spirits of these monster beasts. To know. This is the essence of a 7th-grade monster, and each one is extremely valuable. It can even be said to be priceless. For ordinary people, it is definitely a very difficult thing to obtain these monster essences. Unexpectedly, I came to the 10,000 Beasts Tower today. Not only did he get so many Deo stones, but he also got the souls of a large number of 7th-grade monsters. This is a huge profit. He. Killing so many of my 7th-grade monsters is probably enough for me. In the animal breeding area, just when Xiao Xian was happily collecting monster essences, a sinister voice suddenly came from behind him. Turning around, Xiao Xian saw that this person turned out to be Lin Tao. "See this guy?" Xiao Xian felt a little embarrassed. Speaking of which, there must be so many 7th-grade monsters in this animal breeding land at the same time. Lin Tao must have spent a lot of effort to prepare. But now, he has nothing to do but come up to pick fruits. Seems a bit unethical. However, thinking of Lin Tao's ridicule to him before, Xiao Xian still smiled slightly. "Hey, Mr. Lin, why are you still here? Isn't this my monster going crazy? Kill a few of your old people." You don't care about 7th grade monsters, right? Of course, just a few 7th grade monsters. Lin Tao gritted his teeth. That's good, that's good. Xiao Xian carefully put away the last monster spirit, looked at Lin Tao tentatively, and was determined to run away as soon as the latter made a move. But from the way you look, it doesn't seem like you're using it for yourself, right? Lin Tao was not angry, but asked with a livid face, since you are not an animal tamer, what do you want these spirits for? Improve the level of weapons. This is also a last resort. Xiao Xian looked helpless. For such a long time, I have suffered from my weapon. This weapon has no ability. It will swallow the essence of monsters. However, the more it swallows, the higher the grade of the weapon, so, I just borrowed your old man's monster spirit for a moment, so you shouldn't be angry, right? Won't. Just some monster spirits. As the saying goes, those who achieve great things don't stick to trivial matters. If it's just a few 7th grade monster spirits, I gave up a bigger opportunity. Wouldn't it be a small gain but a big loss? Lin Tao said with a smile. Hearing this, Xiao Xian also became a little interested. He also knew a little about Lin Tao in front of him. This guy is a real smiling tiger. On some matters, the attitude shown is simply insidious. Now that there is no mention of monster spirits on the surface, there is probably a bigger plan. Therefore, Xiao Xian is also a little more vigilant. Speak directly. Since Master Lin Tao didn't come here for the monster spirit, then, could it be that he came for the Dao stone? Xiao Xian said, if Mr. Lin wants me to compensate with Dao stones, I can agree. No, no, no. Compared with that thing, Dao stone, the spirit of the monster is nothing. If you, little brother, are willing to part with me and give me that monster with ancient bloodline, I am willing to give it to you in exchange for the entire 10,000 beast tower. Lin Tao said with a serious face. After saying these words, the smile on Xiao Xian's face froze instantly, and was replaced by coldness. Little green? These are almost the few reverse scales that he cannot touch. For him, Xiaolu is not only a friend and companion, but also a savior who depends on each other. Several times, if Xiaolu hadn't taken action in time, he would have died long ago. Although it is not impossible to be reborn and resurrected by relying on the physique of his creation soul, there is still no doubt about Xiaolu's role. If Lin Tao opened his mouth and asked him for a Taoist stone, maybe he would agree to something, but now, this guy's target is actually Xiaolu, which is a bit ridiculous. If he gave up his little green because of a few 7th grade monster spirits. This is truly picking up the sesame seeds and losing the watermelon. Old landlord Lin. Don't you think your condition is a bit too harsh? Xiao Xian couldn't help but sneered, with your strength, do you think you can get this ancient beast at will? You have to know that you are just a little golden god realm. Regarding Xiao Xian's answer, Lin Tao just smiled, as if he was not surprised, and continued, yes, in the entire Nanzan Haizhu, or even in the entire eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, my little golden god realm is nothing. However, if you add my son, seems to be different, right? That's right. How can you deal with the two of us by yourself? Lin Mang also walked out with a sneer, followed by a group of disciples from the 10,000 beast tower behind him. He. Looking at you, you seem to be well prepared. Xiao Xian smiled. He had already thought about this. When the centipede with 9 waves of phoenix pattern was going crazy, the father and son Lin Tao and Lin Mang disappeared and allowed the centipede with 9 waves of phoenix pattern to massacre their sect disciples wantonly. At that time, he was a little suspicious of their whereabouts. Now, I can see it clearly. It turned out that they had already started planning to seize the little green in his hands. It has to be said that this father and son really have far-reaching plans and vicious intentions. In order to compete for Xiao Xian's Xiaolu, he even gave up all his disciples. he was definitely a wolf-hearted person. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1175. Good. When you took out that ancient beast, I already used a secret method to inform Lin Mang. If you can't be suppressed in the Colosseum, I will use this method. Lin Tao shook his head. It's just a pity that the 9-wave centipede with phoenix pattern that I have been cultivating for more than 10 years was killed by that divine beast with one move. However, if I can get your divine beast, I will be satisfied. Interesting. Do you really think that Xiaolu can be controlled by you at will? Which of the divine beasts with ancient bloodline is not extremely proud? How could they surrender to you? Xiao Xian couldn't help but shook his head and said contemptuously, don't mention you two guys, you are not my opponent today. Even if you are, Xiaolu will not go with you. Violent. Violent. It seemed that he heard Xiao Xian mentioning himself. Xiao Lu emerged from the space magic weapon again. This time, she landed on Xiao Xian's shoulder. Her small eyes looked at Lin Tao and Lin Mang with doubts, as if she were looking at two fools. This time, Lin Tao and Lin Mang's eyes were full of enthusiasm, as if they were seeing the best treasure in the world. What are these two idiots doing looking at people like this? Xiao Lu directly transformed into a human form, they're so stupid. Unexpectedly, can actually transform into a human form, Lin Mang was stunned. The best of the best. If my guess is correct, this should be the pure blood of the ancient Phoenix clan. Although it is still in its infancy, its strength has already reached the dragon god realm. If it enters adulthood in the future, it will become a holy beast above the god realm. Lin Tao was so surprised that he couldn't open his mouth from ear to ear, and the look of greed on his face was ready to come out. Good. This girl is indeed a pure-blood Phoenix clan, but, what does it have to do with you two? Believe it or not, I will kill you with a slap. As a member of the ancient Phoenix clan, Xiaolu is naturally arrogant. On weekdays, except for Xiao Xian, he hardly paid attention to anyone. Now when he saw Lin Tao and Lin Mang, they also had no good looks. Hey hey hey. If it were outside in the Colosseum. Of course I don't dare to talk to you like this, but now, have you forgotten that this is my animal breeding ground, and it is full of restrictions on monsters? Lin Tao said proudly, although I am not at a high level, I still have some knowledge of formations. With the formations here, even if you are an 8th grade or even 9th grade monster, you will not be able to exert your full strength. Hear this. Xiao Lu's face changed, and she used some of her bloodline power. Sure enough, she found that there seemed to be a strange restriction in the void, which caused her bloodline power to be vaguely suppressed. Really, Xiao Xian was suspicious. It's a little trick, just give me a stick of incense, and I can make all these restrictions invalid. Xiao Lu frowned slightly. Such a pity. One stick of incense is enough for us father and son to deal with this kid. Lin Tao said proudly, speaking of which, I have never tasted the taste of a real pure-blooded ancient monster. If I can sleep with you in the same bed, I will have no regrets in this life. After saying that, Lin Tao and Lin Mang also surrounded Xiao Xian at the same time. The disciples from the 10,000 Beast Tower also showed greed and surrounded him. Wait. Lin Tao, how dare you take action against young Master Xiao Xian? Aren't you afraid of being punished by our White Flame Valley? At this moment, Bai Ling's voice came over. Hear this sound. Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned, and then he looked back and frowned slightly when he saw Bai Ling alone. Bai Ling is only at the peak of the Blue God realm. Maybe she can resist Lin Mang for a while, but to Lin Tao, her strength is a bit weak. However, this is also a big help to Xiao Xian. You came just in time. Bai Ling, help me fend off those messy 10,000 Beast Tower disciples, and I'll deal with these two father and son who are working together. Xiao Xian roared angrily, and the serious sword was unsheathed instantly, heading straight for Lin Tao and Lin Mang's father and son. This time, even Bai Ling was stunned. After hearing what Lin Tao and Lin Mang said just now, she was naturally full of anger towards them. When she appeared at this time, she naturally wanted to help Xiao Xian. She thought that with her own ability, she could at least stop Lin Mang. Who knew that Xiao Xian actually planned to fight one against two? Let her stop those miscellaneous fish disciples in the 10,000 Beasts Tower? Is this looking down upon her strength? At that moment, Bai Ling also held his breath, drew out the sword from his waist, and went straight towards Lin Mang. Master Xiao Xian. I, a disciple of Bian Valley, am not weak. You are kind to me, White Flame Valley, and today I will help you kill the young master of the 10,000 Beasts Tower, as a token of my gratitude. Bai Ling finished. Her body also began to burn with blazing white fireworks. In an instant, several disciples from the 10,000 Beast Tower who were about to approach her were directly burned to charcoal by these flames. Even Lin Mang couldn't help but take a few steps back with a look of fear on his face. Here comes another guy looking for death. Lin Tao was a little impatient. Mang stop this Bai Ling, and when father kills Xiao Xian, I will come to help you. Okay, Lin Mang nodded, a black defensive light wrapped around his body, and then rushed directly towards Bai Ling. Buying time. He. Lin Tao, to be honest, what I am best at is killing the little golden god in the blue god realm. Let's see if you can survive my heavenly wolf sword today. Tiankong's swordsmanship. Xiao Xian roared angrily. The extremely exquisite Tiankong's swordsmanship appeared instantly and attacked Lin Tao. Relying on the soul of the god realm, Xiao Xian fought effortlessly against the cultivators of the little golden god realm. At this time, his whole body was like a swimming fish. He could always accurately judge Lin Tao's attack method, and then dodge to avoid it. Lin Tao was a little confused when he wanted to respond. He originally wanted to conquer the 10 societies at once and rely on the powerful power of the great Dao of the little golden god realm to directly kill Xiao Xian. But after fighting against Xiao Xian, he realized something was wrong. He was surprised to find that the power of the great Dao in Xiao Xian was not weaker than him at all. What's even more terrifying is that the latter has a more powerful soul power, and while fighting, he has to use his soul to resist the soul erosion. Lin Tao couldn't concentrate on the battle at all. Vaguely, he was actually at a disadvantage in the battle with Xiao Xian. This made him feel a little solemn. He understands that this is also the time when time is most pressing. Once the ancient beast is lifted from the restriction on the animal breeding land, Xiao Xian will have a dragon god level monster to help. Then he is beyond redemption. It seems, I'm going to use that trick today. Lin Tao gritted his teeth. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1176. Break. Lin Tao saw the right moment. Facing Xiao Xian's attack, a violent explosion suddenly erupted from his body, knocking Xiao Xian away a few steps, and then he started to run the Cloud Beast technique again with a solemn expression on his face. Cloud Beast technique. Level 2. Call. Lin Tao bit the tip of his tongue, and a blood arrow flew out, forming a strange talisman on the ground. At this time, a slow prehistoric aura appeared. It seemed as if a huge beast appeared in this animal breeding area, which aroused the surprise of everyone present. Xiao Xian. I have to say that you are indeed quite capable, and you can actually force me to use this trick. If you can die on my summoned beast, you deserve to die. Lin Tao said proudly. But at this moment, there was not much fear on Xiao Xian's face, but a little more surprise. Because he felt it? The thing summoned by Lin Tao had a familiar prehistoric aura on it. You know, ever since Xiao Xian traveled from the prehistoric continent to the Great Dao continent, he has almost never seen the prehistoric aura again. Unexpectedly, I met you today. Could it be that the summoned beast summoned by Lin Tao was a monster from the prehistoric era? Then, wouldn't it be like throwing yourself into a trap? Back then, Xiao Xian was considered a powerful figure in the prehistoric world. Even if ancestor Hongyun was respectful to him, how could he be afraid of summoning prehistoric monsters now? Moreover, with Lin Tao's pitiful little golden god level, the level of the prehistoric monsters that he could summon would probably not be very high. Things looking for death. I want to see what kind of monster can be so strong. Xiao Xian said carelessly, if it's not as strong as I imagined, don't blame me for beating him to death. Hearing this, Lin Tao was almost furious, but he still gritted his teeth and said, Xiao Xian, you are very arrogant, but all the monsters in this ancient world can swallow up the heaven and the earth, and turn the mountains and seas upside down. Just wait. Die. Boom boom boom. Roar. It seemed to be to prove Lin Tao's words. As soon as he finished speaking, the talisman on the ground flickered, and a huge yellow-haired lion walked out of it. This lion is not small, and the most striking thing is that he has 9 heads. Native 9 spirits. Xiao Xian was not unfamiliar at all, and he immediately recognized the origin of these 9 lions. This thing was called 9 spirits native, and it was the mount of Emperor King Hua of the East Extreme. It was also one of the few mounts with strong combat effectiveness. Maybe for others, seeing this powerful 9-headed lion will make them feel intimidated. But for Xiao Xian, it was like seeing his neighbor's dog. Don't call him a 9-headed lion. Even if his master, Emperor Dongji King Hua, comes, he will be treated with utmost respect. 9 lions appear. On the other side, Bai Ling and Lin Mang, who were fighting fiercely, were also surprised and focused their eyes on each other. Seeing the 9 lions summoned by Lin Tao, Bai Ling looked worried, while Lin Mang was excited. Boy, since you know this ancient beast, you should just capture it without any effort. Maybe I will even give you a whole corpse. Looking at the astonishing and majestic 9-headed lion, Lin Tao was very proud and arrogant. How about it? As long as you hand over the beast, I can give you a good time. But what he didn't notice was the 9 lions he had worked so hard to summon were wagging their tails at Xiao Xian at this moment. Xiao Xian simply couldn't be bothered to deal with this fool Lin Tao. At that moment, he stepped forward and touched the lion's head, and said, go and swallow that old man and the black boy, and I won't beat you up soon. Ho ho ho. After hearing Xiao Xian's words, the 9-headed lion jumped towards Lin Tao and Lin Mang as if it was a pardon. This really scared the two of them half to death. Before Lin Tao could react, he was swallowed in one gulp. Lin Mang tried to escape but was cut in half by the lion's tail. A person in the Little Golden God realm and a Peking God realm were killed in an instant. See this scene. Not only Bai Ling, but also Xiao Xian himself was a little confused. This 9-headed lion is so powerful in combat. At that time on the ancient continent, he is also considered one of the top strong men, and even 9 lions are not worthy of being his mount. How did you end up on this great continent? How can a 9-headed lion be so strong? He had a hard time defeating his opponent, but this guy could defeat him in just 2 moves. What's going on with you? When did you become so powerful? Xiao Xian touched one of the 9-headed lion's heads. But the strange thing is that the 9-headed lion that came to the main road could not speak human words, but only stuck out its tongue affectionately, licked Xiao Xian's fingers excitedly, and its tail was wagging so fast that it almost flew up. Bai Ling, I. Xiao Xian was about to turn around, but saw that Bai Ling's face was even more surprised, so he could only explain helplessly, actually, I don't know what's going on. I just used to be with this little lion. The owner is just a bit pretentious. This is a huge beast. A monster that only lives in rumors. It is said that it can only be summoned by a kind of summoning technique. It stays for a short time, but its combat power is very strong, Bai Ling said in shock. This Lin Tao can summon like this. It's already very difficult to be a monster, but I just didn't expect this little thing to listen to me, right? Xiao Xian was a little helpless. What a little thing, this is, summoning a monster. Bai Ling was almost speechless in shock. Hey, maybe it's luck, right? Xiao Xian also let go of the nine-headed lion and said to Bai Ling, were you not injured just now? This Lin Mang still looks a bit difficult to deal with. Bai Ling shook his head, but his eyes were all on the nine-headed lion. See her like this. Xiao Xian also directly pulled the nine-headed lion over and said, if you want to touch it, feel free to touch it. This thing is furry, so it's quite fun. As he said that, he also reached out and touched the 9 lions' bodies, causing the 9 lions to roll around. This scene shocked Bai Ling so much that he could hardly speak. But she still stretched out her hand tentatively, carefully touched the 9 lions, and then quickly retracted. The 9-headed lion is a prehistoric monster after all. For the first time, he was relatively resistant to the touch of strangers, but when he saw Xiao Xian's dissatisfied eyes, he quickly restrained himself. Little lion. This is my friend, don't bite, you know. Xiao Xian looked at Xiao Lu, who was breaking the tightness of the animal breeding ground, and suddenly said to the 9 lions in secret words, in addition, you will return to the ancient world later, and I can give you a way to fight against the beasts in that world. Disaster. By the way, say hello to Patriarch Hung Jun for me. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1177. Aha. Reporting to Xiao Ziyu, among the current senior sisters of Hong Huang, because of the great road left by you, they can withstand most disasters. However, as for the death disaster 10,000 years later, no one can still eliminate it. The 9-headed lion said using secret techniques. Hearing this, Xiao Xian also frowned slightly, recalling what happened on the ancient continent. At that time, he left the prehistoric continent just to find a way to relieve the catastrophe of death in the prehistoric continent, but unfortunately, he has not found a real way for such a long time. On the contrary, he also felt that his strength was strongly suppressed on the Dao continent. Over time, he can only rely on practicing again to get rid of it. But now, he discovered a strange thing. Although this 9-headed lion was just a phantom, this guy's realm and power on the Dao continent did not seem to be suppressed. This is a bit strange. Is it possible that for the monsters on the prehistoric continent, their power will not be suppressed? So doesn't it mean that if Ancestor Hung Jun comes to Dao continent with a group of monsters, Xiao Xian will be invincible? Or are there any hidden rules on the Dao continent? For a moment, Xiao Xian was a little hard to understand. However, Xiao Xian had to pay attention to the news brought by the 9-headed lion. The death disaster of the prehistoric continent 10,000 years later. He has to find a way to relieve it. I know, go back and tell Ancestor Hung Jun that I am fine on the Dao continent, so they don't have to worry, Xiao Xian added, but this summoning technique is quite interesting. After I learn it, I can summon you over and pass it on. Information. Thank you, Xiao Ziyu. The 9-headed lion quickly shook its tail and thanked him. No need, I don't know what you mean yet. Don't you just want to get some good fortune? Here you go. Xiao Xian smiled slightly and infused the power of the Great Avenue into the 9-headed lion. In the future, these 9 lions will have the spiritual energy of the creation spirit, and their cultivation and enlightenment speed will be greatly accelerated. Not long. Xiaolu broke the restriction on the animal breeding area, and the 9 lions left early. However, Xiao Lu was still very angry about what he had just encountered. After firing a burst of phoenix flames at the corpse of the disciple in the 10,000 Beast Tower, he calmed down and got into the space magic weapon. I said, "Big Beauty Xiao Lu, don't be angry. What does this little thing mean?" Xiao Xian couldn't help comforting him. "Didn't I ask you to kill that Lin Tao with your own hands? He was swallowed in one gulp. What can I do? Did he let the nine-headed lion spit it out?" Humph, Xiaolu's way of losing his temper was very direct. Okay, next time I will keep the person who provoked you and let you deal with it, okay? Snort. Another delicious meal for you. That's pretty much it? Only then did Xiaolu smile. After coaxing Xiaolu, Xiaoxian and Bai Ling set off, preparing to return to Bian Valley. Although this trip was tortuous, it brought a lot of benefits. The most important ones are those 7th grade monster spirits. With those things, the heavenly wolf sword can at least be upgraded to heaven level or above, which is very important for improving his combat power. There are also Dao stone resources. In addition to winning 3 million in the bet, Xiao Xian also found a lot of space magic weapons from Lin Tao and Lin Mang, totaling 8 to 9 million. Now he is definitely a rich man. Got it? There is also about the death disaster in the ancient continent. This is also an important but not urgent matter. 10,000 years is still enough for Xiao Xian. He is fully confident that he can rely on this period of time to stand on the top of the Dao continent. When he fully understands the origin of Dao continent, he can use this origin to relieve the calamity of death on the prehistoric continent. Although he has no evidence now, he can vaguely feel that the death disaster on the Great Desolate Continent is inextricably related to the Great Dao continent. Return to White Flame Valley. When Old Man Bai Yan heard about the encounter between Xiao Xian and Bai Ling, he was also surprised. Especially when I heard that Lin Tao summoned 9 lions, I was even more nervous. But fortunately, the danger was saved in the end, and the Old Man Bai Yan didn't say much. He just reminded Bai Ling and Xiao Xian that Bai Feng did not return to the Bai Yan Valley after the incident in the 10,000 Beast Tower. Xiao Xian sneered at this. This Bai Fengpo was as timid as a mouse despite his abilities. He probably knew that he had done something wrong and did not dare to stay in Bian Valley anymore, so he ran away in a hurry, probably to join the Spirit Snake Alliance. Or he was killed by Snake Jade. Anyway, Xiao Xian didn't like him very much, so naturally he didn't bother to pay more attention to him. In addition, the old man Bian also mentioned something to Xiao Xian. It turned out that when Xiao Xian went to the 10,000 Beasts Tower, Han Xian once came to the Bian Valley and said that now Snake Wanlong is looking to the east of Nanzan Hai's who like crazy. Looking for Xiao Xian, hoping that Xiao Xian can stay in Bian Valley for a while. Regarding this, Xiao Xian was slightly depressed. Avoiding and retreating have never been his favorite methods. On the contrary, he prefers to fight head-on. But now, with his 6-star strength in the Blue God realm, even with Xiaolu's help, it would be difficult to confront Snake Wanlong head-on. Moreover, Snake Wanlong is cunning, and he might be attacked by a sneak attack at any time, so hiding in White Flame Valley and keeping a low profile is also a good choice. Finally, Old Man Bai Yan also gave his advice. According to his suggestion, Xiao Xian temporarily hid in the White Flame Valley and used the White Flame Tower to practice hard, striving to reach the peak of the Blue God Realm or even the Little Golden God Realm as soon as possible, so that he could participate in the youth conference organized by Zhongzhou. The youth conference was organized by the Zhongzhou Dingsheng sect. Disciples who can participate will be protected by Zhongzhou's prosperous section. No matter how brave Snake Wanlong is, he would not dare to kill anyone at the youth conference. Although Xiao Xian was helpless about this, he could only accept it. The next few months, Xiao Xian focused his energy on cultivation, and the threshold of the White Flame Tower was about to be broken by him. In addition, he also upgraded the Tianlang sword to the heaven level as he wished, and the Tiankong sword skills became more proficient. Unfortunately, at that time, when Menji Sword Immortal gave him Tiankong swordsmanship, it was only half of it, so Xiao Xian always felt that there was something missing in it. He also asked the old man Bai Yan, but the old man Bai Yan did not have any weapons, and all he practiced were internal martial arts, and he could not help Xiao Xian with swordsmanship, which made him very distressed. Xiao Xian also became interested and asked while the iron was hot, "Is what you said is true? But why is this? Is it just breaking the sex rules? Or is there something else hidden?" Hearing this, Xiao Xian and Bai Ling looked at each other. Every day, Bai Ling was basically sitting on the third floor of the building, Xiao Xian was sitting on the fourth floor, and Mr. Chen was sitting on the fifth floor, silently enjoying the increase in cultivation speed brought by Bai Yan. However, you should know that there will be more dangers and rules in Zhongzhou. On the contrary, he went to the White Flame Tower to practice every day, and became acquaintances with Mr. Chen inside. Mr. Chen sighed, "If you don't do it right, you will be kicked out of the sect just like me." With the blessing of the White Flame Tower, Xiao Xian's cultivation level continued to improve. When he reached the 8th star of the Blue God realm, he tried to walk towards the 5th floor of the tower. How? Just by chance one day. From the words of old man Bai Yan, although Mr. Chen appears to be in the Golden God realm, his real strength is probably at the Dragon God realm. The reason why he stays in the White Flame Giant Tower in Bai Yan Valley is not just for cultivation, but to avoid something. But every time he was forced back by the fierce white flames. "I heard that you two are practicing so hard because you want to go to Zhongzhou? Attend some youth conference." Xiao Xian suddenly noticed that Mr. Chen was hiding in a place alone, touching a broken black sword in his hand, stunned. Xiao Xian was stunned. He didn't expect that Mr. Chen, who was usually not very popular, would have such a romantic affair. As for Tiankong's swordsmanship, it's a pity that the disciples of Bian Valley found traces of Snake Wanlong several times while investigating outside, which made Xiao Xian very helpless. Alas! Mr. Chen sighed, "It's because I fell in love with a woman I shouldn't have loved back then." He roughly guessed that Mr. Chen was probably also a swordsman. It aroused Xiao Xian and Bai Ling's curiosity. After a long time, Mr. Chen also vaguely revealed his identity. At this time, I heard Mr. Chen's words. Xiao Xian roughly guessed that Mr. Chen should be from Zhongzhou. Because he was familiar with Mr. Chen, Xiao Xian also said directly, "Do you have any advice? Isn't that the case? Didn't you say, Mr. Chen, that the cultivators in Zhongzhou are stronger than those in the outside areas? There are more cultivation resources. We are still young, so of course we have to fight for them," Bai Ling blinked. Said. This was the first time they heard Mr. Chen speak like this. Listening to the meaning of Mr. Chen's words, he was actually kicked out by the Zhongzhou sect. One day, Xiao Xian and Bai Feng were practicing in the White Flame Tower, and Mr. Chen suddenly asked. As for why I came, what I came for, and why I wanted to stay in Bian Valley, it was a bit unclear. Yes. After hearing about Zhongzhou, Mr. Chen didn't seem to be interested. He just shook his head and said, "It's nothing. I just think it would be nice not to go to Zhongzhou sometimes." Ah. Occasionally, Mr. Chen would tell some interesting stories about cultivation. He really wanted to have the opportunity to go to Wanglong City again, find Menji Sword Immortal, and ask where the second half of the swordsmanship was. Having said that, this made him somewhat helpless. In the end, Mr. Chen told him to practice slowly and not to rush, so he sat down on the fourth floor. "You old man, are you really deaf to what's going on outside the window? It's not just us, I'm afraid the entire White Flame Valley disciples have been preparing for this recently, right? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors." Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1178. It was rare to see Mr. Chen looking disappointed. Xiao Xian and Bai Ling couldn't help but look at each other, with a bit of surprise on their faces. Mr. Chen has always been an image of an outsider, but what happened today? Suddenly acting like this? Moreover, you want to prevent them from going to Zhongzhou? Could it be said that there are really troubles in the Zhongzhou area that they cannot handle? Please also ask Mr. Chen for advice. Xiao Xian did not dare to be too arrogant, but asked modestly, I have heard before that Zhongzhou has more cultivation resources, more talented disciples, and even more cave heaven paradise. Isn't such a place worthy of our going? Zhongzhou is a good place, Mr. Chen nodded, but it is only for a very small number of talented children. For ordinary disciples, going to Zhongzhou is simply a kind of torture. Could it be that, you were not a gifted child? Xiao Xian asked tentatively. It counted in the past, but now? He's just an old man from Xianyunye. Mr. Chen laughed. Mr. Chen, please don't be so pretentious. If you have anything to say, just say it quickly. Bai Ling was a little anxious and simply ran to Mr. Chen. Anyway, we are definitely going to this youth conference, so just tell us. What are the benefits of Zhongzhou? I beg you. Oh, you little girl, stop shaking. If you keep shaking, you will shake my old man's bones to pieces. What Xiao Xian didn't expect was that Mr. Chen turned out to be a soft-spoken guy. He usually looks indifferent to everyone, even when facing old man Bai Yan, he looks lazy. Who knew that after Bai Ling's coquettish behavior, he would actually be persuaded? Then tell me, what's going on in Zhongzhou? If you don't tell me, I will never pay attention to you again. Bai Ling let go of Mr. Chen's hand angrily. All right. You little girl, let's go to Wanyan Tower that night and treat me to a big meal. I'll tell you. Mr. Chen said with a smile. When this was said, not only Bai Ling, but also Xiao Xian could understand it. This was indeed a good opportunity to understand Zhongzhou. After thinking about this, his face became a little more curious. At that time, when he was brought to Nanzan by Han Xian, he just thought that Nanzan was big enough and the talented disciples here were amazing enough. But now, he knows that there is a place like Zhongzhou in Nanzan. He once thought that since even Nanzan is so mysterious, wouldn't the more powerful Zilong Hezu and Beijiqingzhou become even more powerful? Perhaps, if you want to explore the origin of the avenue, you need to get in touch with these places. However, the meal must be eaten one bite at a time and the road must be walked step by step. Now that he has the opportunity, he really needs to plan carefully. At least he must first find out what magical place there is in Zhongzhou, which faces Hezu in the south. After thinking about this, Xiao Xian didn't say much. He just nodded and smiled and said, well, I'm in a good mood today. If it's Miss Bai Ling's treat, can I bring a friend? Friend? Bai Ling's eyes flickered, is it that ancient mythical beast? You. Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned. You humans have so many things to do. Xiao Lu was impatient. Xiao Xian didn't say much. Are you telling the truth? Xiao Xian was a little surprised. He knew that spiritual grass and monster beasts were extremely important cultivation resources, whether in the East Barren Giant continent or the Nanzan High continent, and were difficult for ordinary people to obtain. Bai Ling and Xiao Xian had already booked a private room early, and Xiao Lu transformed into a human form and sat on a chair with a dignified look on his face. But even so, Bai Ling was still surprised in his heart. After waiting for a while, Xiao Lu was a little impatient when she saw that Xiao Xian still had no intention of ordering, and said directly, did you bring me here just to watch the fun? In this case, he might as well admit it openly. He didn't expect that the girl Bai Ling was so smart and could guess his thoughts so accurately. Actually, that's not the case. If you knew that the food in Wanyan Tower is all spiritual grass and monsters, you wouldn't feel bad, Bai Ling said with a smile. Unexpectedly, this Wanyan Tower can be used as food for practitioners. In the evening, Wanyan Tower. Lucky. However, after hearing this, Mr. Chen showed a somewhat gratified smile on his face. For such a long time, he also understood that Xiao Xian was also a cautious person. Now being able to tell him about pure-blooded beasts also proves that it was trust in him. This precious trust moved him very much. It's no wonder that cultivators flock here, and some cultivators at the peak of the Blue God realm or even the Little Golden God realm will take the initiative to come. At least they are all 4th grade monsters. Hurry up and serve the food. After all, it is rare to even hear about pure blood beasts like Xiaolu, let alone see them with your own eyes. 4th grade. What grades of spiritual grass and monster beasts are they? Pure-blooded beast. When Mr. Chen heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, and looked at Xiao Xian suspiciously. Could it be that you have a pure-blooded beast? The price of Wanyan Tower is too outrageous, Xiao Xian couldn't help but complain. Hearing this, Xiao Xian also nodded. If this is the case, it is understandable, but, speaking of it this way, you seem to be very rich, like a little rich woman from Bian Valley. Then let's order some food first. Bai Ling was very fond of Xiaolu and directly ordered a lot of good meat and dishes for her. The price even made Xiao Xian a little stunned now. Spiritual grass monster. However, he could also roughly understand that Bai Ling already knew about Xiaolu, and most likely Mr. Chen would also know about it. Of course not, it's just that, according to politeness, you have to wait until the guests arrive before eating. Xiao Xian comforted him with a dumbfounded voice. Compared to Xiao Xian, Bai Ling was obviously more interested in Xiaolu, who could turn into human form, and took the initiative to ask questions about the mythical beast from time to time. However, Xiaolu had an arrogant personality and only occasionally answered Bai Ling's questions. Most of the time, he still glared at Xiao Xian, obviously very dissatisfied with Xiao Xian's behavior of taking advantage of others. It's just good luck, Xiao Xian smiled. This is also due to his character. I'm starving. Regarding Xiao Xian's question, Bai Ling's answer was very straightforward. Besides, these monsters are basically carefully selected and expensive, so you can understand why the food here is so expensive, right? Hee, it's interesting for you to carry such a precious pure-blood beast with you. Aren't you afraid that others will take notice of you? Bai Ling couldn't help but sigh. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1179. Humph, how can I be considered a little rich woman? But, if Mr. Xiao Xian likes rich women, then there is a way. How about I introduce some young rich women to Mr. Xiao Xian? Bai Ling rolled his eyes and asked with a smile. After saying this, Xiao Xian next to him also looked a little embarrassed. In fact, he just said that just to make fun of him. Who knew that Bai Ling would turn an army against him? This really made him a little helpless. Her name is Xiaolu, right? Yes, this name is really nice. However, compared to Xiao Xian, Bai Ling was obviously more interested in Xiaolu. It doesn't sound good at all, Xiaolu said with a flat mouth, not quite agreeing with Bai Ling's words. Ah, really? Bai Ling felt a little embarrassed. She didn't expect Xiaolu to answer like this. Hee. Maybe I came up with the name. Xiao Xian was a little helpless. Forget it, this guy is specifically targeting me, you don't have to worry about it. When he said this, he received a big white eye from Xiaolu as expected. Xiao Xian was used to this. On the contrary, Bai Ling's face was full of envy. After all, a monster like Xiaolu was definitely not something that ordinary people could own. If an average person had such a monster, they would probably wake up from their dreams laughing and quarreling every day. What does a few words mean? What's more, Bai Ling knew better. The relationship between Xiao Lu and Xiao Xian is actually very good, and can even be said to be a lifelong friendship. At that time, in the 10,000 Beasts Tower, Bai Ling saw with his own eyes that in order to save Xiao Xian, Xiao Lu did not hesitate to transform into a human form and fight against Lin Tao and Lin Mang. This feeling was definitely not fake. Alright. However, that is something that is enviable. Bai Ling couldn't help but said, Master Xiao Xian, sometimes I really doubt it. I don't know why you have such a good talent and such good luck. Regarding these words, Xiao Xian just smiled, shook his head and said nothing more. In fact, most people are more filled with emotion and envy for these adventures of his, thinking that his achievements today are entirely due to luck. But only he himself knows the actual situation. These things that others envy were actually achieved by him step by step. If nothing else, let's talk about the mythical beast Xiaolu. Although it was luck to get Xiaolu at that time, with the proud bloodline of the mythical beast, if Xiao Xian was not strong enough, he would have left early. How could you stay with him for such a long time? Isn't this also because of Xiao Xian's potential? Although Xiao Lu usually teased him a lot, Xiao Xian understood that Xiao Lu's words did not have much malice. At most, they just hope that Xiao Xian can quickly improve his strength. In this case, do you also think that I am able to achieve what I am now just because of good luck? Xiao Xian asked directly, if that's the case, are you thinking too simply? Originally, Bai Ling was just sighing, but he didn't expect that Xiao Xian would be so serious. Can you still dig into the details on this matter? For a moment, she didn't know how to answer. However, Xiao Xian still had a smiling face and seemed not to care much about this sentence. Of course not. Bai Ling also came to his senses, shook his head and said, everyone's success depends not only on luck, but also on strength, and a talented person like you is no exception. Hey, thank you for the compliment, Xiao Xian smiled. Humph, you're so stinky. Xiao Lu took a bite of the monster's meat and said dissatisfiedly, if this girl hadn't helped you many times, you would have died in some nook and cranny by now. Yes, I am relying on you, my aunt. Okay. Xiao Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He knew that Xiaolu was a docile donkey and some words could only be said to her. It is, Xiaolu said matter-of-factly. But, sometimes you still have some strength, much stronger than those stupid monsters under my command. After thinking about it, Xiaolu also added. Come on, your metaphor is not appropriate at all. Xiao Xian's face suddenly turned dark. What kind of metaphor is this? He is still a human being after all, a 6-star cultivator in the Kangshen realm. Although his strength is not outstanding, he is still a person who can rank high in the eastern part of Nanzan Hai's Hu. Who knew that Xiaolu would be compared to monster now? Isn't that a little too insulting? No matter how weak he is, he can't even compare to those mindless monsters, right? Ha 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 ha. It turns out that in Xiao Lu's eyes, Mr. Xiao Xian, you are better than the monster. Hearing this, Bai Ling smiled from ear to ear. Bai Ling was good-looking, and was considered a goddess in Bian Valley. At this time, her free and natural smile also attracted the attention of many men in Wanyan Tower. In this regard, Xiao Xian also looked helpless. Although he had the intention to criticize Xiao Lu, he knew that Xiao Lu was indifferent and didn't care about anything except the food he ate. At that moment, Xiao Xian also deliberately made a fierce face. Xiao Lu, I originally promised you that if you help me kill a 7th level monster, I will treat you to a big meal, which should be about 7 or 8 meals. But today, you said a lot of wrong things, so I unilaterally decided to sanction you. The number of feasts will be halved. That's it? No, I protest, Little Green said angrily as his mouth was filled to the brim with monster meat. The protest is invalid, that's it, Xiao Xian said seriously. You, you, you. Xiao Lu was so angry that he wished he could transform into a real phoenix, but after looking at Xiao Xian, his aura calmed down. Ah! Xiao Lu, ignore him. If you want to have a big meal in the future, come to Bian Valley. The big meal will be enough. Bai Ling looked at the scene in front of him with curiosity and was extremely confused. You know, Xiaolu is an ancient pure-blood beast, and its strength has reached half a step to the dragon god realm. Such strength is much stronger than Xiao Xian. Why is it still being manipulated by Xiao Xian like this now? Is this a little abnormal? Could it be said that Xiao Lu really had something to do with Xiao Xian? Is it true? After hearing Bai Ling's words, Xiao Lu was very interested. Then it's okay for me to eat every day. Humph. There is no free lunch in the world. You ate something from Bian Valley. When the time comes, you have to take action when they are in trouble. Xiao Xian looked indifferent and said casually. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1180. Although Xiao Xian said it casually. But Xiaolu, who was eating and stuffing, frowned when he heard this. Although she said she was reluctant to Xiao Xian, she still trusted him in her heart. At this time, you can also know that what Xiao Xian said is true. No, no, no. Although there are delicious food, it would be annoying if there are troublesome things every day. After listening to Xiao Xian's words, Xiao Lu's head shook like a rattle. Bai Ling was very angry. In fact, if you really want to talk about it, Bian Valley can be regarded as the largest sect in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu. Since the old man Bian recovered from his injury, they will not be afraid of any section. Bai Ling is fawning over Xiaolu, and he also simply likes Xiaolu. That's all. Who knew that Xiao Xian would be said to be so purposeful? Xiao Xian, you are so awesome. Don't talk nonsense, okay? Xiaolu and I just want to make friends. Bai Ling originally wanted to scold him. But thinking about the relationship between Xiaolu and Xiao Xian, she finally shook her head and said no more. Make friends. I, Zhao Lingyun, like to make friends the most. I wonder if the two girls are willing to give me a favor. At this moment, a young man wearing a white shirt holding a folding fan came over. This young man has a face like a crown jewel and is quite handsome, but his eyes are looking at Bai Ling and Xiaolu with squinting eyes, which always gives people a sinister feeling. Not interested, Xiaolu didn't even look at Zhao Lingyun, but just kept eating. Zhao Lingyun, Bai Ling frowned slightly after hearing the name. Is it Zhao Lingyun from the Blood Spirit sect? It seems that I am quite famous in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu. Zhao Lingyun turned over the folding fan with a proud smile on his face. I wonder what your name is, girl. I'm Bai Ling from Biangwu. Bai Ling felt a little uncomfortable, but still politely introduced himself. Miss Bai Ling. I've heard your name a long time ago. Zhao Lingyun stepped forward with a flourish and was about to sit next to Bai Ling. Sorry, there's someone here. Seeing Zhao Lingyun's familiar look, Xiao Xian couldn't help but frown slightly. Please find another seat to sit. After saying these words, Zhao Lingyun's face instantly darkened. In the southern part of Nanzan Haizhu, the Blood Spirit sect is the well-deserved #1 sect, and Zhao Lingyun, as the #1 talented disciple in the Blood Spirit sect, has no doubt about his strength. This time he came to Wanyan Tower just to see the strength of the disciples in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu so that he could prepare for the subsequent youth conference. Who knew that he would be treated like this by Xiao Xian now? Doesn't this look down on him? After all, Zhao Lingyun is also a core disciple of the Blood Spirit section. Who knew that he would be treated like this now? Do you know who I am? You actually have the guts to talk to me like this. Zhao Lingyun narrowed his eyes and looked at Xiao Xian coldly. I don't care who you are. What I care about is that you can't sit here right now. Xiao Xian has seen a lot of arrogant and domineering people like Zhao Lingyun, and he is not interested in knowing who this guy is. Snored. You dare to be disrespectful to our Mr. Zhao, are you seeking death? Zhao Lingfeng, how dare you take action in Wanyan Tower? Yes, the old man in grey robe seemed to have a lower status than Zhao Lingfeng, so he nodded and left. We are destined to meet each other. Why don't you tell me your name? Do you take action at the slightest disagreement? He he. Bai Ling frowned, don't you know the rules of Wanyan Tower? You are so bold. Do you really think I'm a baby bird? Boy, don't be too arrogant. Zhao Lingfeng's handsome face suddenly twisted. Do you know what will happen if you offend me, Zhao Lingfeng? Don't think that I will be afraid of you if you have people from Bian Valley as your backers. Sneak attack. Wait a minute, Zhao Lingfeng shook his head slightly. Shuelao, you are the elder of our blood spirit section. If you take action against an ordinary disciple in the White Flame Valley, I'm afraid others will say that our blood spirit sect is bullying others. After seeing some guards on Wanyan Tower, he still did not choose to go to war, but a bloody shadow needle suddenly appeared and flew towards Xiao Xian. People from White Flame Valley, the grey-robed old man's voice was unclear and he was about to continue his attack. Seeing this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but frown slightly. This brother. Regarding Zhao Lingfeng's threats, Xiao Xian didn't even mean to respond. He just snorted coldly in response. It seemed that Zhao Lingyun was indeed very arrogant. At that moment, Xiao Xian did not hold back and swallowed up the grey aura with a move of white flame. At that time, Bai Ling was quite surprised when she saw Xiao Xian use this trick for the first time. She couldn't believe that Xiao Xian, a person who had never practiced the way of white flames, could actually learn about the way of white flames. Enlightenment. This is also the combat move that Xiao Xian has learned from practicing in the White Flame Tower these days. Zhao Lingfeng sneered, let me see, by the way, what kind of person is he who can deny Zhao Lingfeng face like this? Some of the guards from Wanyan Tower also rushed over, looking at Zhao Lingfeng with evil looks on their faces. You. Don't you have any face with me? Xiao Xian shook his head and didn't even look at Zhao Lingfeng. But today, the person Zhao Lingfeng faced was Xiao Xian, and his qualifications were not enough. Being ignored like this in front of so many people in Wanyan Tower, Zhao Lingfeng's face felt ugly, and he wished he could rush forward and fight Xiao Xian right now. While he was talking, an old man in grey robes with white hair and beard came out from behind Zhao Lingyun, and a grey avenue aura hit Xiao Xian's chest. According to his previous experience, he basically faced all kinds of targets. Who knew that someone would help him now? I don't see how he moves. Xiao Xian sneered. His soul power was so powerful that he immediately sensed the power of the sneak attack. Bloodlight Needle. He could roughly tell that this Zhao Lingfeng was probably a talented disciple in the blood spirit section. His strength and talent were pretty good. If he were put in the eyes of other sect disciples, they might still be a little wary of him. Court death. This time, even Xiao Xian was a little surprised. Bai Ling's words immediately attracted the attention of a group of people. The next second, he stretched out two fingers, pinched slightly in the void, and accurately pinched the flat blood needle. You.